Hello, everyone. My name is Raven, and welcome to Raven Gaming Labs. And welcome back. So it looks like more stuff just keeps happening in the tech and gaming industry. I swear, it's like a nonstop roller coaster. So yesterday, Microsoft, or it was announced that Microsoft had a massive data breach where 38 terabytes of data were leaked related to Microsoft AI research and internal emails, all sorts of stuff. You can sort of see it here on the screen. And then today, Microsoft accidentally uploads a whole bunch of private, business related stuff to the public facing FTC page related to their court case, FTC versus Microsoft, over the whole Activision merger. And it's just, oh man, people make mistakes, but it's just like a roller coaster with this. It just keeps on going up and down and happening and happening and happening. So let's start with the first bit, shall we? AI. So Wiz Research, which from what I gather is some kind of like security research company, they a couple months back let Microsoft know that they had found a huge security breach in relation to Microsoft's AI stuff. And I haven't been able to find like too much of what the full 38 terabytes was, but it's still pretty bad because it's internal emails between the team members, what they're talking about, what they're discussing, what they're doing, some of their AI models, a whole bunch of stuff. And I don't know if it was compromised, like if someone actually got a hold of it all, but this has actually been like a really kind of big sticking point for me about just AI in general, because personally, for some people that know me personally, I'm kind of on the fence about AI. Like, I think it could be a great tool for developers, but at the same time, we know these companies, they have data breaches all the time. So in other words, I guess what I'm getting at is do we really trust them to take our data in the first place? No. And then they're going to train AI models based off of it and then do who knows what with it? Absolutely not. So anyway, so they have this, most of it's covered, like you can't see it or anything. They blurred it out. So what happened according to Wiz? Well, while releasing open source training assets, or data sets, reading hard, Microsoft's AI research team accidentally left the vault door open. And so, in other words, from the public repo, they left a SAS token, and you could access all their private internal stuff, their employee workstation, private keys, internal messages, everything was exposed. And literally the root of this leak, a single misconfigured SAS token, Azure's double-edged sword, making sharing a breeze, but security a puzzle. I mean, I just... the ramifications for this for AI and Microsoft is one thing, but the big privacy issue for everyone else, like lots of people use, Microsoft's Azure, service. But it's not just that. All these major companies are doing this stuff where they're mass gathering data. Well, you can't mass gather data and then, put it behind a single use token key that anyone can apparently access, and then they can access everything. So, why does it matter according to Wiz? AI's potential is limitless, but data security is paramount. This incident serves as a reminder as AI evolves. Developers and researchers who rely on data sharing must prioritize securing sensitive information. So then they have like a nice little graph for, some breakdowns. So data collection and handling, storage of AI models and training, risk examples, oversharing of data beyond scope of training data, supply chain attacks, training on overly sensitive data, proprietary or customer owned. That's actually a really good one. I don't know if I'd argue that one's like a security issue per se, but that one is definitely an issue for, just creating AI that's biased. You needs to learn from everything and everywhere. The model training, workloads and tools for training AI and fine tuning the AI model. Risk examples, exposed training system, data poisoning due to training on untrusted data or not validating data integrity. Okay. And then the build and run portion, system architecture, workloads and tools for running apps incorporating the AI model. Risk examples: overprivileged model, granted high permissions in environment, unintended cross-tenant access. Model interface, API for interfacing with app, and prompting AI model. Risk examples: prompt injection, model and extraction. So before we get further, I would definitely like to know what you guys have to say on this video down in the comments below. If you've made it this far, please leave your comments down below, because this is going to be a long one. It's going to be a long ride. There's a lot to cover. So, I mean, yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, yes, Wiz research is correct. All of these are obvious, issues. I don't know if this one in particular is a security risk per se, but, like, I do agree with him. Like, AI is the next big thing. Whether people like it, love it, hate it, doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. It is the next big thing, because corporations are investing billions and billions of dollars behind it. So it's going to be a thing whether we want it to be a thing. And it just doesn't seem like they're taking it very seriously. Like, you can argue that, it was just an honest mistake. But, I mean, people's livelihoods, their data, their privacy, all this stuff, like, you can't afford to make mistakes. Like, doing your best is not good enough when it comes to this sort of stuff. And then there's a link, and they have an article, which is here: 38 terabytes of data accidentally exposed by Microsoft AI researchers. Wiz Research found a data exposure incident on Microsoft's AI GitHub repository, including over 30,000 internal Microsoft messages, all caused by one misconfigured SAS token. That to me just makes me not ever want to use that stuff. But fortunately, I don't use that stuff, so I don't really need to. And if we scroll down here, there's a bunch of stuff, but there's like a timeline of events. I thought they put it at the top. Otherwise, I would not have. Here it is, the timeline. It was right there the whole time. So the token was first committed to GitHub, set to expire October 5th. The token expired on October 6th. Wiz Research finds and reports the issue to Microsoft. The token was invalidated 2 days later. It took 2 days for Microsoft to verify it. To like find or get the email, read the email, get a hold of someone. It took 2 days. The SAS token was replaced. Microsoft completes internal investigation of potential impact, and then they made a public disclosure, which was yesterday. Now, the interesting thing is the FTC thing is, blowing up everywhere, and everyone's talking about it. I'm about to talk about it because, Microsoft's like dumping a bunch of remaster and all kinds of other stuff, and it's interesting. But this is actually quite a very big deal. Now, obviously, I'm going to link down in the description below this article because it is fairly big. So what did they find? Let's just read the summary. So the 38 terabytes of additional private data on top of whatever was in the GitHub repo, including a disk backup of 2 employee workstations. The backup includes secrets, private keys, passwords, and over 30,000 internal Microsoft team messages. The researchers shared their files using an Azure feature called SAS token, which allows you to share data from Azure storage clients. Probably not a good idea. Microsoft will probably change policy on that. The access levels can be limited to specific files only. However, in this case, the link was configured to share the entire storage account, including another 38 terabytes of private files. That makes me wonder, was there more? Like, how much was on the original, and then how much was there on top of that? Obviously it's 38 plus terabytes. That's a lot of data. And they don't say specifically what kind of data it was. Like, we have no idea really what the data was. This case is an example of the new risks organizations face when starting to leverage the power of AI more broadly. As more of their engineers now work with massive amounts of training data, as data scientists and engineers race to bring new AI solutions to production, the massive amount of data they handle requires additional security checks and safeguards. Yeah, I agree with that. My stance is I don't really like the fact that Microsoft is piggybacking off of GitHub to produce AI models that they're eventually going to turn around and charge people for. Copilot, so it's like you're using someone else's data to train your AI, and then you're going to go make bank on it. Obviously, it's one of the reasons why they haven't trashed GitHub, probably completely, to be completely honest with you. It's in their advantage that everyone is using GitHub. It gives them a broader, training model for basically free, given how much money they're probably going to make off of Copilot. So, So there is a lot of like license issues and stuff like that, because like the GPL is an infectious license, and like if you're training on it, there's a lot of people that firmly believe that the GPL does carry over into AI. So and there are people that are currently suing Microsoft and others over this. So we'll see where that goes. We're not really going to talk about that, but I just. And then, there's some screenshots of what they found. 359 Microsoft employees were involved in those 30,000 messages. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff here, like boosters, no idea what that is. GCR backup, Linux backup, Mater Lab, Martyr, I don't know how to pronounce it. Patch results, Philly tools, some public stuff, some snapshots, transformers, air sim. I mean, I really can't tell too much based off of what this is, but, then you can see there's all the stuff. And then there's that chat example again. And I mean, it's just crazy. And then, there's a bit of an explanation on how the SAS tokens work. I mean, I think the SAS tokens is a pretty great idea, but I think it also just reared its ugly head as to some of the issues, pertaining to the SAS token, because, now granted, this might not have anyone's personal information other than the Microsoft employees, but it could. Wiz Research doesn't say what they were training or what they were learning off of. We have no idea of knowing. And given that Microsoft hasn't put out too much of an announcement over it, and that, media is not going as crazy hype fest as they are, kind of makes sense that, okay, maybe they're not, maybe it's not as big of a deal. Like it was just some generic training models. It was a lot of data, obviously, but maybe it's not too bad. And maybe that was a good thing, because they learned this lesson on something that wasn't as bad as it could have been. So, but anyhow, the description for that, description, the links to both of these are in the description, and I really would like to hear what you guys have to say. Now, moving on to the next part, the part that everyone is probably very interested in, probably actually click this video link in the first place, and there's a timestamp so people can just skip right to it. FTC versus Microsoft. Microsoft uploaded a whole bunch of private stuff, and the FTC blames, according to IGN, FTC blames Microsoft for devastating Xbox court document leak. This was just put out today on December 7th, 2023. The court issued an order resolving all remaining sealed issues with respect to the trial exhibits in this manner. The court ordered the parties to meet and confirm, provided the court with a secure cloud link to the admitted exhibits with the redactions set forth in the court order. Microsoft provided a link on September 14th, and the court uploaded the exhibits to internet pages established for this case. And you can go there, but it's kind of like locked up right now because, they kind of had to take it all down. The parties have notified the court that the version of the exhibit provided contained non-public information, and the court has removed the trial exhibits from the internet. The parties shall meet and confer, including with any non-parties, and resubmit by September 22nd. The parties shall simultaneously file a written certification signed by all parties and non-parties whose information is contained in the admitted trial exhibits, verifying that they have reviewed the exhibits and certified that they only contain public information in accordance with the court's order. That was a mouthful. Okay, so I do like the fact that because initially everyone was blaming the FTC for dumping this stuff, and it was like, no, Microsoft just uploaded it to like a public repo. Like Microsoft's like, okay, here you go, and it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then there's like a bunch of stuff. I mean, look at all this stuff. They are perhaps the most devastating leaks in Xbox history, with FTC trial documents revealing Microsoft plans for mid-gen Xbox refresh in 2024, a next-gen hybrid Xbox in 2028, a Bethesda release schedule, a leaked email revealing Phil Spencer really wants to buy Nintendo. Really, Phil Spencer? You think you can afford to buy Nintendo? Don't get me wrong, Microsoft is a very rich company, but so is Nintendo, and they're not hurting, and their stock's worth a lot. I don't see you buying Nintendo. Okay, that's a pipe dream. You thought Activision was expensive at, what, 60, 70 billion, whatever it ended up being? Yeah, Nintendo's probably a $200 billion deal. There's no way they're parting with that. And then somehow you got to convince Japan that, yes, we can sell one of our largest corporations to an American company. Good luck, Phil. There's also a word of a potential one-hand Xbox controller. That's interesting. They're going to make a next-gen version of Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2. And this is like another thing that's like really odd to me about this whole circumstance, because Microsoft is essentially just remastering everything. And don't get me wrong, every company is just remastering everything at this point. I mean, they are just remastering everything. And I guess that's a whole other issue. And I could just like go into that for like 20 years, I guess. You know, I could talk about that forever. Like, why make a new IP when we can take Fallout 3 and just make it shiny and then sell it for $60 or $70? Like, on the one hand, I agree that, like, people probably do want to play a version of Fallout 3 that's a little less buggy and a bit more modern. But on the other hand, they're not going to change the gameplay. It probably won't have modding. It might, though, given that it's a Bethesda game. But that's a very key if. It might have modding. And it's like, but it's going to be the same game. It's just going to look better. And I know some people really care about graphics. And it's not like Fallout 3 really looked good to begin with, but I don't know. To me, that just seems like meh, don't care. And then we can see this is the look for. Can I click on this? Yes, I can, but that really didn't like make it bigger. So to me, this just looks like an ashtray. To be honest, kind of reminds me of that old Apple Mac Pro they had a couple years back. It literally just looks like an ashtray. It's like a cylinder or a sort of cylinder. I can't see the other side, but the front looks curved. And I'm just like, what is with these designs? Like, I get it, right? Like, you want it to blend in, but it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old guy now, and I like my rectangular, just set it down, you know, fits in the home entertainment system. But, you know, it's just like, that looks like a pain to work with. Like, I know these things were never designed to be fixable, really, per se, but that just looks like a big issue. At least no one will set stuff on it. However, it doesn't have a lot of surface area, so if you set something on the top of that, you're going to have a very bad time when that thing overheats. And there is some updates, like improved stuff for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Bigger storage, 2 terabytes, USB-C front port. You get one port. You know, probably built on some new stuff, like it uses less power on standby mode and just in general. More recyclable stuff. You know, it's like, it's good, but it's like, if you already have an Xbox, other than the storage increase, it's probably not worth it, to be honest. And then they have some other stuff. So this is the Series S, you know, the cheaper one. Oh, and the other thing to mention is there's no disk drive on either of these. I mean, obviously. This one actually looks kind of neat. It does look like a speaker, though. It literally looks like a speaker. But it's basically the same thing. You know, it's the cheaper version, but it has all the other improvements because, you know, they're all kind of based on the same, you know, design. It's just one has a way beefier CPU and GPU than the other. But they're pretty much all the same. One's just a cut down. And it's $299, and it'll come with 1 terabyte storage. I don't know what it comes with. What does the digital version come with? Could you imagine if it came with like 256 gigabytes or 512? Like, you put like one game on it. You could put like Warzone and Fortnite on it, and that would probably be like the entire thing. Like, oh, I want to play Call of Duty. Well, I guess I'll have to remove Warzone so I can play Call of Duty. Oh, I want to play Warzone now. I guess I'll have to remove Call of Duty. It's like, oh my gosh. This new controller, I mean, I guess. I mean, the design is kind of like whatever, the half black, half white. It's like, okay. I mean, it looks like an Xbox controller, like a slightly fancier one. Play anywhere, direct to cloud. That's interesting. So they kind of pulled a Stadia, I guess, where like it'll, you know, directly connect to the, you know, rather than going through the console. Well, still technically go through the console, but, you know, you'll be able to connect directly, you know, to it and bypass some of the console input latency. It's quite handy. The Stadia controller was very well done and were very well thought up. And then there's, you know, all this stuff. They have another announcement for their mid-gen lineup. I'm actually kind of bummed they don't have the one-handed controller, because that would actually be kind of cool. And also the FTC, you know, I wish I could have gotten my hands on the full PDF, because there would have been a lot to read, but unfortunately they pulled it down. So now let's talk about some of the stuff that they are going to be, you know, name dropping. Oblivion Remaster, a Fallout 3 Remaster, and more. So we'll just scroll down. So, financial year 2022, Oblivion Remaster. Okay, we obviously know that didn't happen because I was going to point, but I realized I'm just sharing Firefox. It's 2023, so that didn't happen. But it does mean that they might be working on it. So I guess Starfield being delayed, as it says here, and the Indiana Jones game probably did delay it. But it's interesting. Are they really going to bring Oblivion? Doom Year Zero and DLC. I don't know what that is. It's probably kind of like the Quake stuff. Like you're going to remaster Doom and all that crap. I don't know what Project Kestrel or Project Platinum is, but those clearly didn't pan out because, it's the end of the year and Starfield just came out. Dishonored 3. Knowing that they're making a Dishonored 3 is not bad. That and a Ghostwire Tokyo sequel, some licensed IP game. They were going to have an expansion to Kestrel. That obviously didn't pan out. Elder Scrolls 6. Also, there was an announcement. Microsoft is expecting $900 million from Starfield and $1 billion in the first year for Elder Scrolls 6. That's crazy. $2 billion is what they're basically estimating. And I'm pretty sure Starfield outsold their expectations too. I didn't particularly like it. I watched a buddy play it. I thought it was okay, but definitely not worth $70. I mean, some people are going to disagree with me on that. That's fine. But I mean, whatever. I'm kind of curious to know what this is. And then there was also this. This part is great. Can I open this and get like a bigger image? I can. So we already kind of knew that there was going to be like Doom Eternal and some of the Fallout stuff. Like some of this stuff did come out. Like Project Ubu, Project Wonder. These are probably all like prototypes. Ghostwire Tokyo. I mean, 3 planned titles, 1 planned titles. Like they actually have quite a lot in development. Clearly, though, all this stuff not all of it, but a lot of it got shoved way down. And I'm sure the pandemic happened. Like Starfield was supposed to come out in 2021. I mean, can you guys imagine the way Starfield is right now if it came out in 2021? Like even with the pandemic, they were still working on it. I mean, that's just crazy. But look at how much money Doom Eternal makes. Like Doom Eternal actually did better than Elder Scrolls Online. Not in terms of like, length, but it didn't do that bad, to be honest. For ZeniMax, did pretty good. But look at that. They were projecting 600 for it then. But ZeniMax, 2.6 billion in the year 2024. I bet they'll do better than that because I guarantee Elder Scrolls 6 is going to do just outrageous. People love the Elder Scrolls series. I mean, I'm a big fan of some of the older ones. Like, I still love playing Daggerfall and all. I know. But, I don't know. Skyrim, with its absurd number of remasters and remakes, just didn't really, bother me. And then there's this. Also, Elder Scrolls 6 set to skip PlayStation 5. And now it's not expected till 2026. So, yeah, I guess between the pandemic and just, honestly, I mean, the pandemic is one thing, but I think these games were just not ready. I think they were not ready, and they had to cancel them. I mean, no doubt that the pandemic really did damage. And then we go over here to The Verge, and they pretty much talk about the same thing. They're just quoting others, kind of like what I'm doing. And then, there is this interesting tidbit here, which is actually the whole reason that I kept this article up. And it's because this is Phil Spencer talking to someone else. And you can read it right here. I'll see if I can blow it up. There we go. So I'm not going to read it, but I'll just summarize it. Basically, Phil Spencer is explaining why they cancel studios or shut them down. And according to him, it has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with leadership or apparently team just losing its passion. I don't know if I really buy that, but okay. I mean, again, I don't know if I truly, genuinely buy that reasoning, but it is a reasoning. So, it's kind of crazy. And then this one. So the next console will be a hybrid console where you'll have to connect to the internet. My guess is, and this is just my guess, because I don't know what they're doing and they don't really say. My guess is they're going to build something with a bit of horsepower, obviously more than what they have with the Xbox Series X, because that came out in 2020, 2021, something like that. I think it was 2021 when the new consoles came out. So it'll have a bit more, kick to it. But I think they're going to try to leverage everything in the cloud, which if everyone dials back the clock and remembers the original Xbox One, That was actually the plan all the way back in 2013. You know, remember they made the big announcement about Titanfall, and they're like, it uses our client stuff on the server, and it helps processing, and yeah. No, that is actually not what happened, but I honestly do believe that that right there is what they originally envisioned, but the world just wasn't ready for it, and more people are getting fiber, faster internet, and just having better lower latency internet. So I think it's less of an issue. But it'll be interesting to see how they leverage it and what it costs, because you know they're going to charge developers for that, you know. But then again, as it showed with the Stadia, you know, there weren't a lot of games with the Stadia that really leveraged all the horsepower, but there were some tech demos out there that like Google themselves put out, leveraging like 4 or 5 of those big server blades. And, you know, they were pushing out a huge amount of graphical fidelity and physics and all sorts of other stuff. And it was very impressive. By the way, I know someone's going to comment, you know, you say you know a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I know I do. I've always have. And then this insanity, you know, I'm not even gonna entertain this one. I'll look at the actual email later. But Phil Spencer thinking that Nintendo, I mean, I agree. Microsoft buying Nintendo would be an amazing career moment. I do agree with that. But Phil, buddy, no. You would have to do a hostile takeover. Let's start buying that stock now. By the way, after this announcement, it shot up and their stock went up, and I'm wondering if it is. Oh yeah, this is the little cloud device that they had like done. You know, because with Game Pass, it kind of makes sense. Like if they render everything on their servers and then send it to the player, you know, they could start having like $99 consoles, which are basically just ARM devices with really good video decoders. You know, because you don't need a lot of horsepower. Like, you don't, you know. So, you know, and they have really good deals with like Qualcomm, which makes Adreno, and they actually do have really good decoders. Or even like AMD, NVIDIA, like everybody. There's so many options out there for like really good video decoders. Now, encoding gets a little different because they all tend to have different varying quality. Some good, some bad, depends on the version, all that stuff, yada yada. But as far as decoding, all they need is like a really good decoder that can decode like 4K 120 FPS footage really well, really rapidly at a good price point, and they can just sell those things $99. People buy them like crazy. Even if they sell them at a loss, who cares? I mean, they could even sell them for 150. Wouldn't matter. And then like gamers have like unlimited storage. They buy a game, they click it, they launch it, boom. You pre-order a game, click it, launch it, boom. Now, me personally, I think that's awful. I think that would be like one of the most awful, most dreadful things ever. But I'm not most people. And I am definitely in a very niche point where I like to own whatever I buy. And most people just don't care. And, I mean, you know, let me know in the comments below. Do you care if all of your games are in the cloud, if it comes with convenience? I mean, think about it. You know, you want to play, right? You want to go over to, like, you know, somewhere else, or you're just going to hop on the train or whatever. You just pause the game, open it up on your phone, continue playing on your phone. Like, there are so many options for this. It really does open the door to quite a lot of things. And then, you know, this is their like launch period, you know, 2025, stuff like that. And also some of them are going to launch around in here. But launching in 2025 is still a ways off. No, unfortunately, they didn't leak any information about their hybrid console, and they probably don't know. I mean, it is 5 years off. So they probably have a rough idea of what they want, but they probably don't know what they're going to actually have. And so then there's this really interesting one here. This is at the top. Microsoft thought it would have a 30% GPU advantage over the PS5. And he was nervous about the PS5 unveiled before declaring we have a better product than Sony does. You know, to be honest, they really don't have a better console. I mean, they do have a bit more power, but they don't have 30%. They really don't have 30%. And I'll leave this up as well. I do think it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, look at this. The specs revealed, the boost mode. And then like you can see the difference, you know. I mean, I suppose, you know, they do have like what, a 10% advantage. Now don't get me wrong, you know, the thing I didn't realize that the Xbox has like two types of memory speeds. That just seems annoying, to be totally honest. It's like, yeah, your memory's faster, but 6 gigs of it is like super slow by comparison, like almost half as slow. And you know, you remember like the 970? You remember that card? It was like what, a gig and a half or something. It's a gig and a half. It was a terabyte and a half. No, terabyte? What am I talking about? Yes, I was right the first time. It was a gigabyte and a half. But, like, a portion of it was, like, super slow. And when you would load stuff into it, it would just cause the game to slog. Now, obviously, the Xbox doesn't seem to have that problem. But it is still quite a problem. They have a better Blu-ray drive. But at the same time, you know, they are very close to each other. And you know they're both going to release a pro version. And given, like, the differences between the two, you know, Sony could just bump up to the same number of CUs at the same speed. And if they can keep the heat and temperature and power under control, which they might be able to on a newer nanometer, they might be able to surpass the Xbox. So, I mean, you never know. But I would say they're close enough that it doesn't matter as much as Phil would like to think it does, or likes to talk about it. Because they both have to pretty much enable the, you know, upscaling modes because of all the ray tracing and stuff. So what difference does it make? But then there was this really interesting tidbit here that I found, because Fortnite, you know, was the #1 Xbox game. Look at that number. Over 10.9 billion minutes of playage in 4 years. 12.8 million users a month. Average yearly playtime 212. Honestly, this like this person says, this is probably still going. This is absolutely nuts. And then here is the beautiful, glorious email from Phil to several people, talking about how it would be a really good idea if we owned Nintendo. You know, I mean, from a financial standpoint, abso-freaking-lutely, it would be amazing. But I just don't see, like, the Activision deal in some cases was pretty damn hard to get through. But Activision is just making games. Now, I'm firmly of the belief that the Activision deal should have never went through. Activision was not hurting for money. There was no reason for it to go through. With that said, there's no way that they would allow it, because that not only would that mean Nintendo games become Xbox exclusive, which was a big concern with Activision, but it also means that another console would disappear. And I just don't foresee that happening. One, I don't foresee Japan allowing it. And then number two, I don't see anybody allowing it. Like, they barely allowed the Activision deal, and I think Microsoft pretty much blew it all. Now, again, that is past tense, so maybe they're not thinking about it anymore, but I'm pretty sure Phil is still thinking about it. And then, yeah, here he is. This is a snippet from the other one, where he's talking about, I'm just going to close that one. Because, you know, we already talked about how, you know, you're building a moat, and, you know, your games aren't doing super good, and you're trying to push everybody to the cloud, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And look at Destiny. Yep, there it is. 3.3 billion hours played. Man, Destiny had nothing on Microsoft. I'm actually really surprised. FIFA is really big. Madden is not as big as I thought it was. I actually thought Madden would be bigger, but you know what? They've been really ruining Madden with the yearly releases, so I can understand it. FIFA, for whatever reason, they're not ruining as bad, which is just odd. And Battlefield is doing really bad. I mean, Call of Duty, man, still a juggernaut. No one ever talks about what a juggernaut Call of Duty is, except for the fact that they are still a juggernaut. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. But, wow, I've been talking for 35 minutes here. So anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. But you guys let me know what y'all think of all of this. What are y'all's opinion? Let me know down in the comments below. Am I right? Am I wrong? I know it was like a lot to say. It's like 35 minutes of it. It's pretty crazy. I'll have a link in the description to all this stuff, because I like to give you guys everything that I have. And, yeah. So you guys have a good one, and I will see you all in the next one. If you want to support this channel and you like what I do, you can support me over at Patreon, become a member, get early access to videos, and, you know, just support me in general, and I greatly appreciate it. Or if you don't like Patreon, you can also support me on YouTube. And I also have a Discord. There's a link in the description below. And as I said, y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Hey everyone, thanks for watching Raven Gaming Labs. Thanks to all the members and viewers who make RGL possible. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so that you can be notified. If you want to become a member, hit the join button or link in the description below. Members get early access to videos, member-exclusive content, and more. As well, don't forget to join our awesome community over at Discord. Y'all have a good one.